Scientia ABC Time. Awesome booklet.
Welcome to Scientia ABC Time. Awesome booklet. Today, with me, Orlando Young, from Darma Yudha Junior High School, we're going to continue another chapter of Fairy Tale Treasury. It's called Prince Ivan and the Firebird. Let's get started.
Scientia ABC Time.
The Tsar of Russia was very proud of his garden, which was full of rare trees that grew nowhere else in the world. Some of the trees wore beautifully scented flowers. Others were laden with heavy jewel-like fruits. Most precious of all was an ancient apple tree whose rustling leaves sheltered fruit of solid gold. The Tsar treasured this tree and visited it every day. To his dismay, one morning he noticed an apple was missing. "A thief must have sneaked in during the night," he cried, ordering extra guards all around the garden. But it was no good. The next day, another apple had mysteriously disappeared. "I'll catch the thief," promised the Tsar's eldest son, Prince Dimitri. That night, Dimitri went and sat right under the tree. But by midnight, he was fast asleep, and in the morning, another apple had gone. "Dimitri must have dozed off," said the Tsar's second son, Prince Vasily. "I'll catch the thief." So that night he went and sat under the tree. But by midnight, he too had fallen fast asleep. In the morning, yet another apple had vanished. The Tsar was furious. "Father, please let me try to catch the thief," begged his youngest son, Prince Ivan. "How will you succeed when your brothers have failed?" grumbled the Tsar. But Ivan insisted, and at nightfall went to sit under the tree. It grew darker and darker. Slowly, he felt his eye begin to close and pinched himself to stay awake. Just after midnight, the garden was lit with a flickering golden light. Ivan looked up and gasped. Soaring over the wall was a bird with flaming red gold feathers. It shone so brightly, it made night seem like day. Dazzled, Ivan watched the bird land on the tree and plucked an apple in its beak. Then he leaped up and grabbed its tail. "Got you!" But the bird flapped and fluttered and pulled itself free, leaving Ivan grasping one fiery golden tail feather. In the morning, Ivan showed his father the feather, still flickering with golden fire. Dimitri and Vasily looked on jealously as he told his father about the strange bird. "Amazing," muttered the Tsar. "I must see this myself." He sat up all the next night and the next. But the firebird did not came back. "Little brother must have skated away," said Dimitri scornfully. "I will bring it back." He took the finest horse from the stable and set out. But days passed and he did not return. "I will go after him," said Vasily. "I am sure I can find the firebird." He took a second horse and set out. But more days passed and Vasily did not return either. "Let me go after them," pleaded Ivan, ignoring the Tsar's frowns. "I'll bring back the firebird." "How will you succeed when your brothers haven't even returned?" sighed the Tsar. But Ivan insisted, and in the end, his father had to let him go. "But I can't spare another horse," he said grumpily. So Ivan set off on foot. Ivan was striding through a forest when he heard an animal howling. He searched around and found a huge, shaggy wolf caught in a trap. "Poor thing," said Ivan, setting it free at once. "Thank you," growled the wolf. "You are the third person to come down this road, but the first to help me. Now I will serve you in return." "A talking wolf!" exclaimed Ivan. "Well, one magical animal might know another. Can you help me find the firebird?" The wolf nodded a shaggy head. "Climb on my back, and I will take you to it," it replied. So Ivan scrambled up, holding tightly to the wolf's thick coat, and they set off. The wolf ran faster than the wind, forests and fields flying by. Ivan had never journeyed so quickly. They had soon left Russia far behind. Eventually, the wolf stopped by a stone birdhouse. "You will find a bird in there, in a golden cage," it said. "Take the bird, but leave the cage." The inside of the house flickered with the light from the bird's feather. Everything was just as the wolf described, but Ivan hesitated. "I should really take the whole cage," he thought, "or the bird might fly away." He reached out, but as soon as he lifted the cage, bells began to clang and guards came running. Ivan was captured and dragged before the queen of the land. "You were trying to steal my bird," cried the queen. "I should have you executed. But I've been looking for someone bold to bring me the fire hose with its flaming mane and tail. So I'll let you go. In fact, I'll give you the firebird if you bring the fire hose back for me." Ivan had no choice but to agree. "Wolf, what have I done?" he moaned. "I should have listened to you." "You were foolish," agreed the wolf with a growl. "But I'll help you. Climb on." Once again, the wolf ran faster than the wind, over hills and mountains, to an even more remote kingdom. The wolf stopped by a stone stable. "The fire hose is there," it told Ivan. "Take the hose, but don't touch the golden bridle." Inside the stable was a horse with a blazing red gold coat. As it tossed its head, the light from its mane glinted across a golden bridle hanging on the wall. Again, Ivan hesitated. "How will I lead the horse without its bridle?" he thought, reaching out. But as soon as he touched the bridle, bells began to clang and grooms came running. They dragged Ivan before the king. "You were trying to steal my horse," thundered the king. "I should kill you now. But I've been looking for someone bold to bring me the fire maiden. With her beautiful golden hair, I intend to marry her." So the king went on. "I'll let you go. In fact, I'll give you the horse if you fetch the fire maiden for me." Again, Ivan could only nod. "Wolf, I've done it again," he sighed. "You should have followed my advice," growled the wolf. "But I will help you. Climb on." Faster than the wind, the wolf carried Ivan almost to the edge of the world. It stopped by a stone palace where a maiden was walking. Ivan had never seen someone so beautiful. Her soft, golden hair rippled like living flames. Ivan leaped off the wolf and made a deep bow. "Who are you?" cried the maiden, startled. "Forgive my boldness," said Ivan. "I have crossed the world to see you." The maiden smiled, blushed, and invited Ivan in for tea. She was charmed by how handsome and kind he was, and he was just as charmed as her. "Wolf," he moaned later, "how can I take the maiden to the king? I'm falling in love with her myself." "Do not despair," growled the wolf. "I have a plan." So the wolf carried two figures back to the king, one a handsome young prince and one a dazzling maiden. But the prince had lengths of glowing golden hair under his cap, and the maiden was swathed in veils. Ivan and the maiden had changed clothes, and the wolf had added a touch of magic to prevent the king from seeing through the disguise. The maiden handed over Ivan, and the king happily gave her the fire horse in exchange. Then she rode away, and the king gave orders for the wedding feast to be prepared. "I'd like to take a walk in the grounds," whispered Ivan through his veils. "Of course, my sweet," purred the king. Ivan made straight toward the stable where the others were waiting for him. They pulled off their disguises and rode away. Ivan on the wolf and the maiden on the fire horse. They had not gone far when he heard a yell. "Hey, come back!" The king was chasing after them, but the wolf and the fire horse ran faster than the wind, and he could not catch them. "Now for the queen," said Ivan, "although it seemed a shame to part with this horse." The wolf grinned. "Perhaps you can keep it, if you do exactly as I say." When they arrived, the fire maiden waited outside while Ivan let in the wolf. But it no longer looked like the wolf. It was brushed and be-ribboned, and with a magnificent saddle cloth, and a touch of magic, appeared just like the fire horse. The queen clapped her hands in delight and gave Ivan the firebird. As soon as the queen left the wolf alone, he tore off the saddlecloth and dashed after his friends. Behind him, the queen screamed, "Hey, come back!" But the wolf and the fire horse ran faster than the wind, and the queen's cries were lost in the distance. Soon, they were back in the forest. "I will leave you here," the wolf told Ivan. "You are nearly home, but don't stop for anyone until you get there." So Ivan and the fire maiden went on together, but they had not gone far when they bumped into Ivan's brothers. They had long since given up on their quest and had been spending their time hunting instead. "Little brother," they called, and forgetting the wolf's advice, Ivan stopped. "What have you got there?" they asked. So Ivan introduced them to the fire maiden and told them about his adventures. The brothers pretended to congratulate him, but as soon as his back was turned, they scowled. "These trophies should be ours," they muttered, and they hatched a terrible plot. "Have a drink with us," they told Ivan, "to celebrate your success." "With pleasure, my brothers," said Ivan. But his cup was drunk, and he fell into a deep sleep. His brothers tied him up to a tree and left him for the wolves to devour, while they rode off with the firebird, horse, and maiden, threatening her with terrible things if she gave them away. Then when Ivan woke, he was alone in the dark. "What shall I do now?" he thought in despair. Then he heard a howl. And a familiar, fierce face appeared. "Wolf!" "You should have listened to me," growled the wolf. "But I'll help you one last time." It bared its teeth, and Ivan flinched, but it only gnawed through the ropes. "Now climb on," said the wolf. "We don't have much time." Faster than the wind, the wolf carried Ivan back to his father's palace. The garden was lit up with lanterns, and they could hear the sounds of great banquet. "What's going on?" Ivan asked the guard. "The Tsar is celebrating the return of Prince Dimitri and Vasily," came the reply. "And their treasures, although those aren't so wonderful if you ask me. A bird that will not sing, a horse that will not eat, and a maiden who won't stop weeping." Ivan did not wait any more, but rushed into the banqueting hall. Ivan's brothers turned pale, but the fire maiden rushed into his arms, smiling and wiping away her tears. The firebird burst into song, making all the flowers in the gardens bloom, and the fire horse whined for joy. Then Ivan told the Tsar what had really happened, and in fury, he banished the treasurer's brothers. But Ivan and the maiden were married and lived happily for the rest of their days. As for the Tsar's garden, the wonderful golden apple tree now had a golden bird living among its branches, and a golden horse grazing beneath it. And the only thing Ivan and his bride treasured most was the friendship of a grizzled old wolf. The end.
Scientia ABC Time. Awesome booklet.